Well, first of all, just to kind of lead into the whole idea of price, obviously everybody wants a cheap price. Everybody's looking for the best deal possible. Unfortunately, the best deal possible sometimes is the most expensive deal in the long run for you as a patient. Doctors are charging based on their need to get patients, and sometimes they'll lower their fees enormously because they're not getting any patients. Buyer beware. Okay. Look for a reasonable price, first of all, and then based on that, most of us will charge by area. Typically, to get into the room, get everything set up, have everybody taken care of as far as personnel is concerned, there's a base price we have to incur on our side, or base cost. So the first area typically is the most expensive. As we add other areas to the procedure, the cost of each subsequent area usually goes down in price. So you have to take that into account when looking at the full price that a doctor suggests to you. Some of us, not all of us, will look at the size and depth of the tissue that has to be reduced. And because obviously the more tissue, more time, a lot of doctors will charge based on that thickness of tissue. I have yet to do it. Okay, I try to make it the same price per area. But you have to understand that some doctors may come out and say, your friend's getting charged this amount, you're getting charged this amount for the same number of areas, but your friend may be thicker than you are, and therefore it might last an hour longer. And unfortunately, time is money, so there's sometimes discrepancies when it comes to thickness of tissue and price charged. So when you're seeing advertisements for given prices either on the internet, in an ad, those prices are probably a minimum price to get you enticed to come in, but those things may change sometimes dramatically once the doctor assesses you and tells you now it's Y versus X as far as pricing. But we are consistent with our pricing, both in advertising and in the door. As far as pricing is concerned, again, you can look on the internet and find pricing from various physicians. In my mind, the better the expertise of the physician, you're going to have to expect to pay for that quality, for that reassurance that you're getting the best possible outcome, for that possible even guarantee that they're going to say, we're going to make sure that you're happy with the results. But with quality comes price, and therefore expect to pay more if a doctor is more experienced, better at his craft, and has testimonials to back it up and pictures to back it up, versus a doctor who just has 2 procedures for $9.95. Again, buyer beware. So when it comes to pricing and experience for a procedure, again, first you have to decide whether you want to undergo a more traumatic procedure in a hospital-based setting, and there are plenty of doctors that have plenty of experience doing that, upwards of thousands of procedures that they've done over a period of years. If you choose not to do it in a hospital-based setting and choose to do it in an office using much more gentle instrumentation, much more gentle to you, and then you go through the whole process of which one of those instruments is the best that you want to do. And obviously my bias is Tickle Lipo. And if you say you chose Tickle Lipo as your procedure of choice, then you have to look and say, well, what doctors out there have the best experience in Tickle Lipo? Tickle Lipo has been in the U.S. approximately 4.5 years. There's literally a handful of us, 65, 70 doctors nationwide, that have Tickle Lipo in their practices. Of that 65, 70, there's only 3 or 4 of us that have done anything near 750 or more procedures. So take that into account when you're looking at price, looking at procedure, and looking at quality or end product. So when it comes to comparing experience and comparing it with pricing, make sure that once you've chosen the procedure that you want to have done, that you've chosen a doctor that has most experience in that procedure. Because a doctor that's done, say, 10,000 procedures in a hospital-based setting, but not only done 5 in an office-based setting, that experience is not going to equate. It's not going to be equal to what he's done in the hospital. So keep in mind always comparing apples to apples when you want experience with procedure. Well, if you go to a hospital, not only do you have the surgeon's costs, you have the anesthesiologist costs, you have the operating room costs, you have the recovery room costs, you have medication costs. So they all add up, and it can be a relatively significant amount of money that you're spending. But unfortunately, a lot of times you go see a doctor who's going to do it as an operating room procedure. They'll quote you their costs, but leave off the fact that there are other hidden costs that you're not going to know that you're incurring until the time of procedure. As opposed to an office-based setting, typically most of us is just one cost. It's the cost of the procedure. Anesthesia is included. Obviously, the procedure room is included. So you're getting everything condensed into one cost. And more often than not, there's a significant savings by having an office-based setting than a surgical setting, let alone, theoretically, if you're having it done under general anesthesia, you're going to have a more traumatic procedure done, therefore potentially more downtime, more time off from work, so loss of income on the back end as well.